Okay, we're going to get started. The sooner we get started, the sooner everybody can go home and get out of the heat. And hopefully miss the bad weather that's coming. Right, Eric?
That's right. And if you've noticed, there's no bad weather here, but there's storms all around.
That's right. But that's always the case in Oriental. It goes like this. So, we go. Not yet. Anyway, my name is Bruce Perkins. I'm the president of the Chemical Amateur Radio Society. And you're going to hear a little bit about us at the end of the program, but hopefully will be to your benefit during hurricanes and any other disasters we might have, knock on wood. Yeah, but the main presentation is the National Weather Service and hurricanes. We do this every year, hosted by the town of Oriental, which I really appreciate. And I want to thank Diane Miller for that. And I see that Brina Litzenberger is here somewhere, back in the back, town councilor. Charlie Overcash is a town councilor, but he can't be with us tonight. But he's also an amateur radio operator with PARS. So he's directly involved in what we're going to be talking about later on. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Eric Hayden, who is the, I want to say the coordinator. What is the
Warning coordination?
The warning coordination meteorologist. That's a mouthful. Say that 4 times. And his office is, if you haven't seen it or driven by it, it's off of Highway 70 in Newport on Roberts Road. And if you ever want to visit it, you can't miss it. There's a big round ball up in the air and next to the office, but they always invite visitors to visit the office. And I would suggest you do that if you have a spare 20 minutes on your hand when you go by. Okay?
Thanks, sir. Thank you. All right. Really appreciate everybody joining us this evening. A show of hands, how many have been to this talk in this building before? Look at all those hands. So it can't be that bad for all those new folks. So appreciate you coming back. With you coming back, we have to keep things fresh and new. So we always bring show and tell. So we have something new this year to keep it lively and to make sure you understand what we're talking about. For those that did not raise your hand, who lived here in 2018 during storms? So some did, some did not. So we're going to refer to some past storms. Those that are new, you're going to hear names. We're going to make it all make sense. I'm Eric Hayden, the meteorologist down at Newport. Bruce was saying warning coordination meteorologist, really liaison between you, the community, and the National Weather Service. Today's focus is going to be hurricanes, hurricanes, hurricanes. A lot of you have already come up, grabbed some wonderful brochures. Feel free to do that at any point. If you miss anything, you want to jot it down and you want to look at this presentation again, that's why we have this camera. It will be on YouTube by the end of the week. And you can view everything that we say from the town to the weather service will be on YouTube. So kind of sit back and relax. If you want to take notes, go for it, but it is being recorded. The most important stuff is up front. Continue to trust official sources. We're going to talk about that. Focus on the impacts. Water is what kills. Never ever focus on just a category of the storm, and impacts occur well away from the center of the storm. So we're going to try to show you some examples of this with Helene back in the fall, and some things that have happened to our state over the past 10 years. Misinformation and communication is our biggest challenge. I get teased all the time, and I know some of you have said this in this room, maybe not to me, but it's the only job you can have and be wrong all the time. I see you nodding. Must be nice to be able to get it right half of the time. That's not true anymore. It's a good joke. Everybody tells us the same joke, but that's not true. We get it right a lot of the time. Our challenge is there's so much information out there. Are you really getting it from us? When you come up to us and say, my app said it did this, we don't have an app. I wish we had an app. We don't have an app. It's not our forecast. There's tons of information out there. Some of it good, some of it is not good. These are some examples from YouTube. Get ready, here it comes, not good, this is rare. I didn't look at this YouTube channel over the course of a year. I looked at this YouTube channel over the course of a week. If somebody's all saying this every day, they're trying to hype things up and scare you. You don't need that. What you need is consistent official forecasts that are the most accurate and the most consistent. And those are from the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center. So weather.gov or hurricanes.gov. That's all you should be paying attention to. Our local media uses this. The Weather Channel uses this. The town website uses this. This is what you need to focus on. You're going to be anxious about things you don't need to pay attention to. There's a lot of crying wolf out there. You just don't want to pay attention to things you don't need to. We get enough storms in our community. We don't need to worry about every disturbance out in the ocean until we need to be worried about it. So weather.gov, hurricanes.gov, bookmark it, save it, tell your new neighbors that just moved in from Ohio to pay attention to that and not social media and some of these weather pages. Except your social media. And again, when I say weather service, local officials, local government, local TV, Donnie Cox, Jerry Jackson, they're all using our stuff. We work together. So use local information from a trusted source, local media, local government, or the federal government here in Newport. So you might say, Eric, of course you have to say that. I can't stand up here and say use somebody else's forecast, right? I always like to back things up with statistics. We're the government. We report everything. You can fact check anything we send out, including Helene. This is a Wednesday before the storm hit. Incredibly dangerous situation, potential to be a once-in-a-lifetime event. Consider temporarily relocating to another location if you live in these certain areas. So the message is out. That's what we were saying before the storm was here. So what about the forecast itself? This is Helene. I cannot say this enough. 3 days before Helene got a name, it was not even a storm. 3 days before Helene got a name, it wasn't even a storm. Our science has gotten so much better through the decades. So 3 days before it was a storm, we called it potential tropical cyclone 9. It's a fancy term for now we can put out a forecast map because we're confident it's going to become something. And we predicted Thursday afternoon it would hit as a major hurricane, the Big Bend of Florida. And there's the eye of the storm hitting the Big Bend of Florida. That's what happened. Our challenge is communicating, making people believe in Western North Carolina that it could actually be that bad, making them understand that you're going to get a ton of rain before Helene even gets here. It's just very hard to grasp those concepts if you haven't lived through it. And if they're getting inundated with all these messages. But if you just focus on official sources, you are going to get the information. I hope that makes sense. Doesn't mean we won't miss it once in a while. Doesn't mean it won't be off a little bit this way or that way, but it'll be consistent and it is the most accurate information you're going to get. The other way I'm going to back it up is these handmade maps that I made. Does anybody remember Gloria in 1985? This is going back a little ways. Some people that have lived here for a while might remember. If you don't, that's all right. So back in 1985, if I was going to tell Diane we're going to get a storm, 3 days out, 72 hours out, the average error for where the dot on the map is going to go, just the center, not hundreds of miles across, but just where the center is going to go. 3 days out, I tell Miss Diane anywhere from Savannah, Georgia to Washington, D.C. You might say, I wish I went to school for meteorology. That's pretty easy, right? Pretty easy. How about Floyd in 99? Do you remember that storm? So I call Miss Diane up, 3 days out, we're going to get a storm. And the center, again, keep in mind, impacts are hundreds of miles across, but just that center, it's going to go somewhere from Charleston to Richmond. A little bit better. Last year, 2024, our average error was 67 miles. So I call Miss Diane up and I say somewhere between Wilmington and Greenville. Wilmington and Greenville. We have become very accurate. There's going to be wobbles that we miss, little things, Mother Nature's still unpredictable at times. But generally speaking, hurricane forecasting has gotten very accurate. It's the communication, believing it's going to happen, preparing in June when we're 100 degrees out and there's no storms on the horizon yet. You're all here and we thank you for it. So you're part of the process. Please share this with neighbors. When they tell you about something they see online, refocus them to official sources because of what I just showed you. One thing we don't do a good job of is sometimes explaining our information. So unlike the hurricane cone, Mr. Eric is not on a diet. I had a nice dinner here in town. I won't mention where. I love eating as my summer interns. I should have mentioned Jack and Zach are two of our Holling students through NOAA, paid summer interns from Central Michigan and Penn State. They've been joining us for these talks throughout the summer. So we've been doing a lot of eating. We went to Hatteras yesterday. We do a lot of outreach and we do a lot of eating on the way. So I'm on a diet, but the forecast cone has been on a substantial diet. That forecast cone is drawn based on the error the last 5 years. So it's not really wide for a big storm and really skinny for a small storm. It's always going to be the same. So it continues to get skinnier and skinnier and skinnier because we can continue to get more accurate and more accurate. That's great, right? Except for people see this and say, oh, I'm in the path. I'm in Atlanta. I'm in trouble. I'm in Western North Carolina. I don't need to worry. If you're anywhere near that path, you should pay attention. It shows you where the most likely path will be for the center of the storm. The center is important, but hurricanes are hundreds of miles across. And a lot of you are nodding your head, you know that. But if you're new to the area and you see that, it's the most popular graphic we have. Again, you might say, well, I'm in North Carolina, I don't have to worry about it. I'm in Georgia, I need to worry about it. If you're anywhere near the vicinity of that storm path, you need to pay attention. So it's not an in or out thing. We try. So last year and continuing this year, we have an experiment where we display the hurricane watches and warnings and tropical storm watches and warnings on the same map. So if you follow those, you would know about it. But if you just look at that cone, it can be tricky sometimes. So that's something to keep in mind. And everybody wants to focus on this. This is Floyd, the center. But the outer bands of rain and storms and wind are reaching us now, hours and 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 hours. And then now here's landfall. It's important. It's important where it hits. If it hits at high tide, all that stuff is important. But keep in mind, storms last hours and days sometimes. And I hope that loop reinforces that it's not just about landfall. It's not just about does it hit Oriental or Morehead City or Hatteras. If you're anywhere near it, you should be paying attention, and impacts can occur well ahead of when that storm actually officially gets here, which is denoted by landfall of the eye. So I mentioned our website. Locally, it's weather.gov/Newport. You can scan the QR code. Something to remember, I know a lot of us move here, and you may move away, or you may you might have relatives moving across the country. If it's a weather you love, weather.gov. That's all you need to remember. Weather.gov, $4 a year per person to fund us. Radar, satellite, forecasting. You have that weather app that might not be from us, but something has to feed it. And that's us, the data. So please use your local weather service wherever you go. If you're going on vacation this year, weather.gov. If you're down in Myrtle Beach, click on that area and you'll get the forecast out of Wilmington. So weather.gov, a very, very useful site. We do use social media quite a bit because our website is a little cumbersome, but social media is not. This is where we wave our hands and say, hey, category of Florence's or category of the storm is only related to wind. Still expect catastrophic flooding. That's a tweet I did the morning of the storm based on people calling saying, should I come back to the area? No, still gonna be really bad. So all on social media, YouTube, X, Facebook, wherever you are, briefings we do to the towns, we'll put those on YouTube. So there's not a lack of information from us. You just have to know NWS, Morehead City, any of those social media channels, follow them, and you're gonna get information. The storms today, the heat wave we've been having, we talked about that more than a week ago. So please follow us on social media. You're going to get a tremendous amount of information. In specific to storms, you can have local briefings. The same thing I send to the town managers and the county emergency manager and the schools. We don't tell them what to do, but they base everything on these briefings. You can have access to the same thing just going to our website or social media. On the page, if you scroll down, it'll be highlighted that there's a briefing. But we'll show you things like when is the biggest threat. So for Helene, not really a big deal here, but when it was going to be Friday. It was the day that we might get a little wind but it really wasn't a big threat outside of a tornado threat. A couple other things I want to reiterate: weather.gov, weather.gov, weather.gov. Hurricanes.gov is the Hurricane Center. We're all together, part of the National Weather Service. I showed you the cone, but one thing you may want to start paying attention today and tomorrow and this weekend, not because we have a storm on the horizon for now, but it's something called the Tropical Weather Outlook. It shows you a low, medium, or high chance of something happening in the next 7 days, and then it shows you any current storms. So was it Andrea? We had a storm in the ocean a couple days ago. We had a 10% chance for a storm off the coast a couple weeks ago. You know, those types of things, check once a day for 30 seconds and see what's going on. You don't need to look at this 4 times a day. It updates 4 times a day, but this is cup of coffee in the morning, check it. Do I need to be concerned the next 7 days or not? And then just move on with your life. If we get a storm and we're doing briefings, there's a lot of good information in those briefings on the website. When is the wind going to get here? Sometime Thursday night. What is the height of the potential storm surge? In a worst case, how high the water could get? Not going to be everywhere, but somewhere in that area, the water is going to get that high. And that's why there's you know, evacuations or whatever is going on. So wind, surge, rainfall, anything you need to worry about is going to be in our briefings or it's on the Hurricane Center site. You don't have to be a meteorology student or degree meteorologist to understand it. I'm glad you're all here. It is June, so it is time to prepare now. The peak of the hurricane season is about September 10th. So a couple things I want to point out. You know, we're right here, so pretty steady through early July. You know, not a huge ramp up, but from about August 15th to October 1st, it really increases our chances. I'm a big sports fan, college basketball, football, you name it, I like it. September is halftime for the game, halftime. After Labor Day, after the kids go back to school, after the tourists return home, and we love them, but they return home, it's only halftime for hurricane season. So keep in mind, storms like Matthew and Sandy have occurred in the month of October. So we do have a long season. It's not just a summertime season. Fall is typically our biggest threat, and specifically the month of September to October typically is our biggest threat for storms. If you didn't realize, we do get a lot of storms here in Eastern North Carolina. We do live in paradise. It is gorgeous. We got water all around us, beautiful beaches. I love the small towns. We don't have a lot of traffic. Lots of good news in Eastern North Carolina. But it's our responsibility to be prepared each year because we do get storms. So you'll hear some folks talking about Fran or Floyd or Isabel. You'll hear them mentioning these names, and that's because they've impacted our area with flooding, high winds, or what have you. So we're going to go over preparedness, and then we're going to end with anything a storm can produce and things you should be paying attention to. So if you're on our website already and all you add is hurricane prep, you're good to go. You can scan the QR code or just add the word hurricane prep. We keep that link at the top of our page all hurricane season. So if you just go to our webpage, there's going to be a link at the top that says, are you prepared? On social media, I will ask every week, what have you done to prepare? What have you done to prepare? To continue to remind people to prepare. Anything on this website is very useful. Some of you grab the hurricane guides. They're very, very good from the state. Anything you need to think of, what to have in your hurricane kit, cash on hand, you know, evacuation routes, everything is certainly there. And I was thinking about my hurricane kit. You know, you can have a tub, you can do it many different ways, but the key is doing it now and planning, because you're not stressed. This evening, other than it's really, really hot out there, weather's pretty quiet, not too much going on. If you wait until the storm gets here, supplies will run out. But if you go this weekend, plenty of supplies. So planning is key when you're making your decisions. And it really is a 3-step process. The first is, what is your vulnerability? Before you get to the kit, before you decide, should I leave, should I stay, what do I need to do? Who is in your house? Where do you live? It's as simple as that. Who is in your house? Where do you live? Who is in your house? Pets, animals, elderly parents, young grandchildren. They're all, you need to think of all of them when you do your planning. So for me, 3 kids that are not young anymore, they used to come with me to the class. Those aren't my kids, but they used to come. They used to be, yeah, 17, 14, and 11 now. So not so young anymore. And then my mom moved down from Baltimore, where I grew up, down to Swansboro. So now I have 2 houses to worry about to evacuate. So my vulnerability is a little higher, especially because I can't leave. I stay because of work. So who's in your house? Think of everybody when you're thinking about that. Are they reliant on electricity? Do they have medical needs? Any of that you got to think about. Now that you've done that, you make your kit. Basement floor is 3 days, food, water, medicine. That's just bare bones, at least that. I would like you to try to do a week. Food, water, medicine, anything you would need to be on your own. Don't expect help. Don't expect it to be quick. It's not because people don't care about you. It's because it's a natural disaster. It's a natural disaster. Without power, without water, there's a lot of stuff going on. So if you can be on your own with anything you need, you're going to be in much better shape. So again, make sure you consider everything. Don't forget about your pets, young kids, grandkids, things, cooking without power, cash. There's a lot of, the town may mention this, it's in the guide. There's a lot of information out there, but I just want to get you to a week. And I understand that all of us can't do that this weekend. That's okay, because it's only mid-June. So this weekend, I challenge you to go out and get your bottled water as a first step. It's one of the most important things you can do. Just go get your bottled water this weekend. Wait a couple weeks. Get your canned goods. Wait a week or 2. We don't want to wait too long. Get your batteries, flashlights. By doing it in pieces, you're going to spread out the financial impact, and you're going to make sure you do it. So just little steps at a time. It can seem daunting, and a lot of stuff is good for next year. You don't have to replace this every year unless you have kids like me. They eat through all the snacks, and I got to replenish it. But please break it up into steps. And then the final step is have a plan. I'll go back for you. So again, please, up to a week if you can. 3 is a minimum. And then step 3, have a plan to evacuate. I hear it a lot. I'm not gonna leave unless it's a 3. I'm not leaving unless we get a 4, Diane. I'm staying right here in 10. I've heard it all. Your mind may change when the storm is upon you. So today, if you have a plan, then you'll know where you're gonna go. So raise your hand if you have any family that likes to visit you here by the water. You got any family, right? Lots of family, right? Go visit them. It's way more comfortable at their house farther inland. A hotel, way more comfortable than being here or at a shelter. We don't advise people to go or to stay or to go to a shelter. That's not our lane. But from the experts that have been through it, they'd say over and over again, a shelter is a safe place. You will be safe. It may not be comfortable like your relatives or a hotel to yourself. You understand? There's lots of people in a shelter. So have options. And I think don't just go to Raleigh. And somebody came up to me. I don't have anything against Raleigh. What that reminds myself is don't just think you're going to go to Kinston or Goldsboro. You have to have a couple options. For Helene, the folks in the mountain could come here. It would work out just fine. It depends on where the storm's going. Maybe Richmond, maybe Columbia, South Carolina. I usually had 2 plans for my family. It used to be Baltimore, Maryland, and then Columbia, South Carolina, and relatives. So opposite directions. So something like that. Maybe Raleigh works if it's just a storm that just brushes the coast. So just keep that in mind so that if we get a storm, you know where to go. We're going to end with this and impacts. You know the website, 7-day kit. Eric, I came to this forum. I knew a lot of this. You may not realize some of the next couple slides that are going to surprise you. This scale, this category scale is important, but it is only a wind scale. It does not tell you how much rain you're going to get, that the storm is going to sit over you for 4 days, that you had a foot of rain last week, that this is the 3rd storm you've had this season. Doesn't say anything of that. Doesn't tell you it's going to hit at high tide, that you're on the right side of the storm. Lot of variables with a hurricane. It's important, but most people focus on this number when they make their decision. I'm going to leave if it's a 2. I'm going to leave if it's a 3. Well, what if you get 30 inches of rain? So it's important. I'm not telling you I wasn't a little scared when Florence was a 4. I live in Cape Carteret, which is 3 miles as the crow flies from the water. I was scared. So it's to be respected. Mr. Eric is not saying ignore it, but please do not make your decisions just based on that. Instead, focus on this. Impacts, impacts, impacts. Water is what kills. 85% of people that die in hurricanes die because of water. Storm surge, flooding, or rip currents. We've done a better job at surge in recent years. We've had some 4+ storms, huge high-end hurricanes, and we haven't lost as many lives as we did before. So we've made improvements with storm surge watches and warnings, but we still have issues with water in our community. And then, I told us, our Holland students with us as we drove over the bridge, as you come down in elevation, that's where it floods. And, so that's our community. So if you're new, that's what it looked like in 2011 with Irene. Just to the north, on the north end of our county, the Pamlico River, up east of Washington, that's what it looked like for surge. So we certainly get water in our community because we live right by it. So that's how we're going to end. When we get a storm, and I do say when, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, we're going to get another one. We just live in an area like that. That's what you should be paying attention to, not just a category. You don't need a degree. You don't need to, decipher any mathematical equation like we had to do in college. You just pay attention to your local news, your local government, or your local friend at the Weather Service. One of those 3, and they're going to talk about all these things. So we're going to start with surge. That is our number 1 risk where we stand today. So this is the fire hall. That's this building. Okay. So where we stand today, and it's been raised up a little bit, 3.5 feet. So back in Irene, we're a little higher today. That's where we stand today. Was this firehouse?
So the fire hydrant is the only thing there that's still where it is.
So we can walk out and see that. So when you came in today, there was water in front of this building in 2011. And we're not right by the river. I know we're a couple blocks from it, but even with our Holland students, it's just hard for me to imagine that until you see that. I can imagine going over the bridge and getting a little lower. And if you're by Water Street, that makes sense. But when you come up a little bit, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around that. So surge is definitely something we're concerned with. Up the Neuse River, it's very difficult to explain or even comprehend since we're not oceanfront. But if you look at the river the way it is, it'll constrict, especially as it heads up toward New Bern. The Pamlico Sound, where we get our shrimp and a lot of our seafood, beautiful, but it's very shallow. So when the wind blows a certain direction, it'll push one way or it'll slosh back toward the Outer Banks. But when it pushes back to the west, it's up the Pamlico River, up the Neuse River, where we live, and it can get quite high. It might not look like it when you look outside today, but it certainly can happen as well. So storm surge is definitely one thing we can get. One thing, I'll just probably verbalize it. I didn't swap in the map like I wanted. We can get high levels of storm surge. This is, this is down Pineville Shores. I tried to swap in the new one. Okay. So I wanted to have a map of Oriental and Pamlico County, but I'll just verbalize it for you. So is it 306 that runs north to south? Okay. So from 306 east, the elevation drops under 10 feet. We're all low lying. If you look at any elevation map, it just, all of eastern Pamlico County is very low. So we've got this storm surge pole, and I'll put it on. This is Pineville Shores, but you can, a lot of our area is in the red. In fact, let's just let me try this real quick. So at this point, are there any questions? If I want to do this. Yeah. What you got?
So these refer to above ground.
Yes, it does. What does that mean, right? what the heck does above ground mean? I'm going to show you. So I thought I pasted it in here, but what I try to do with each talk is we try to make it local and add pictures. And I forgot to swap that one out. Okay, here we go. So what I wanted to show you today, we're just going to bring up in a browser, don't you worry, it's coming, is a Category 3 storm in our area. And that's very realistic. That's not Mr. Eric bringing up some crazy end of world scenario. This has happened before in our area. And the gentleman in the back, I'm glad you asked the question about, you know, what's dry ground or above ground? What does that mean? And that's why I've got this poll behind me. All right, this is what I meant to paste in the presentation instead of Pine Hill Shores. Okay, so here we are in Oriental. I'll zoom in. So this is that 306, the north-south route in our county. And look how, as you go east, it's just very low elevation. So we're at risk in a lot of places. But if we zoom into Oriental, might be hard to see, but we're down here, right there. So that's our color curve. Anything above yellow is 3 to 6 feet. Anything above orange is, so 3 to 6 for the greater than 3 is yellow, greater than 6 is into the orange, and then above 9 feet would be the height of this pole right here. So to answer the question about what does above ground level mean, normal areas that are dry, that are near the Neuse River, or any of the little tributaries we have, or the swampy areas that are usually, you know, your yard next to it that doesn't get high tide into it. Those normally dry areas near the waterways will have 3, 6, 9 feet of water above a normally dry location. We started doing that to give people an idea of depth, and a lot of people did different datums, mean low water or mean high. So we're just saying areas that are usually dry near the water or low-lying areas could have this amount of water above it. So most of our county where we live is vulnerable, especially along the waterways. In this example, this is a Category 3. Fran was our last major hurricane in '96 to hit southeast North Carolina. So we are due. We've had them in the past. We're going to have them again. So in this map, to give you the visual representation, at 3 feet, we issue storm surge watches and warnings. So you might say, well, 3 feet, that doesn't seem like that much. I'm about 6 feet tall. That's up to my hip. So 3 feet is a lot of water. And then so anywhere yellow, 6 feet. So that's about my height. Orange, up to 9 feet. So up to the ceiling in this room, we've had values like that in our area, in Oriental along the waterfront. So again, up to the ceiling. Normally dry areas, not impacted by tide, we've had water levels to that height. So that storm surge, it's the rise of water ahead of a storm. The storm's churning out there, it's pushing waves toward us, and that those waves come crashing on our shore and get pushed up the rivers and constricted toward New Bern. And that's how they get surged, the height of 10 feet or more in the downtown area. So surge is our biggest concern where we're standing, just because of our location by the water itself, for sure. Did that answer your question, gentleman in the back? Because it is one of our more asked questions. It's not intuitive sometimes. So surge, our biggest threat. Our second biggest threat is we get a lot of rain here, even without hurricanes. So flooding. The reason why I wanted to show you this map was we got surge here in Oriental with Florence, but we were actually on the edge of heavy rain. So it was a bad storm when I said we were on the edge of heavy rain. We had 14 inches. That gives you an idea. We had 20 to 30 inches down toward Jacksonville. And look at the Outer Banks, they only had 2 inches. So I show you this because the gradient or the change in rainfall in the storm can be vast. And we're going to tell you we're going to get a lot of rain, but where it actually happens can change by a couple miles this way or that way. We knew we were going to get a lot of rain, but that's incredible. 30 in Jacksonville and 2 in Nags Head. That's pretty big range. So anytime you get that amount of rain, you get flash flooding. Hurricane category, not indication of the rainfall. Florence was just a 1, wind-wise, but it certainly produced a lot of rain. Where we are, we have a lot of standing water. It can be dangerous, but just inland a little bit where they have some topography and some elevation, the water can flow a little more. Never ever cross a flooded road. Only takes 2 feet of water to carry your car away. And what you don't realize is how deep that water is. You don't know if the road is there anymore. So never ever cross a flooded road. Don't go around barricades. And if you decide to stay, things like this are going to be cut off, your water, or emergency services getting to you. Again, it's not a scare tactic. We were on Hatters yesterday, and we were talking about how it was 3 months for Isabel to get Highway 12 fixed. And obviously they ferried in water, and you can do different things, but 3 months to fix Highway 12. So, things can get scoured out. You might be in a good location, but that's why we talk about having food, water, and medicine on your own for at least a week, at least, because of how powerful the water can be. So turn around, do not drown, biggest slogan with that. We've emphasized water, water, water recently because, again, statistically, that's what's going to be your biggest danger. We're going to get a windstorm someday. Fran was the last higher end wind in our area. It made landfall down in Wilmington, category 3, so major hurricane. And with wind, property damage, extensive communication disruption. So everybody's so used to being on this, and then when it goes out, we don't know what to do, or everybody's on this and the cell towers don't work. So communication, power outages, things like that is the big concern with wind. And that wind, just like rainfall, can vary. Where landfall is, you might have strong winds, but then a little bit farther down the line, you don't have as much wind. So that can vary quite a bit. If you decide to stay, we can get tornadoes. So just have this charged up. Make sure you have a NOAA weather radio. We can get these in the middle of the night. You're probably not out shopping, but you want to make sure this is not on do not disturb. You've got a way to wake you up. If this is off, that radio is going to wake you up, even if the power's out, because it's battery backup as well. So having multiple ways, don't just rely on this or this. Have a couple ways that are going to alert you. This is Bogue Inlet Pier. EF2 tornado during Dorian, and a lot of us escaped Dorian just fine outside of Ocracoke, but down by Emerald Isle that had some bad damage because of the tornado. So we can get tornadoes in our hurricanes as well. So I hope I emphasize, don't focus on just a category, water, 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 weather.gov, hurricanes.gov. That's pretty much what I want you to get. One last thing I want to leave you with, you have all done the first steps. You're here. You're going to go out and get your kit. You're going to be prepared. And that's great. 50% of our losses now are occurring after the storm. So don't rush to get back. Don't rush to clean up your yard. Don't wade through the water, very, very dirty or unseptic. We've lost people because of wounds that have had, issues with infection. So don't be in a hurry to get back to normal. If you get that generator, know how to use it. And a lot of people say, come on, Eric, I know not to put it in my garage. Well, we lose people because of carbon monoxide. So don't put it inside a garage. You're not usually on a ladder. Get your young people in the neighborhood to help out. You don't need to be up on a ladder getting the tree branches down. So electrocutions, carbon monoxide, wading through the water, there's just a plethora of things that can be dangerous afterwards. So what can we do now? Break it into little steps. Share this information for anybody that wasn't here. Make sure they know that we're going to have a YouTube link. I'm sure the town will share it. Start working on your kit now. You have zero control over if we're going to get a storm or not, or how busy it's going to be. And you'll notice I did show the outlook. It's not that the outlook's not good, but I want you to prepare each and every year, no matter what that outlook says. Because until I can tell you that we're going to get a storm or not, what good does it do you to know it's going to be a busy year or not a busy year? Doesn't do you any good. So that's why I don't show it. I want you to prepare each and every year. And then when it doesn't happen, enjoy the area. And just focus on what you have control over. Doing the kit, sharing it with a neighbor, and then moving on and enjoying the weather that we have, even the hot weather like we had today. So we're going to transition to Miss Diane. She's going to talk about more town-specific information. Diane, I'm going to exit out of this. If you could stand in this general vicinity, then that way you'll be on the webcam. That's my email. If you need anything, If you want us to do this at your church, your civic organization, if you haven't couldn't tell from my talk, I'm very passionate about this. Please, please, please let us know how we can get this into the community, because we are all ears to try to spread this information. We think it's good, but unless Miss Diane and Bruce invite us and set up a beautiful building like this for us, it doesn't get out to the community like this. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Questions? I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. So there's been some cuts to water. How's that gonna break these?
So there have been some cuts to NOAA. Locally, we have not lost anybody. So locally, we are okay. At some other offices, they're hurting pretty bad. We've always been good about shifting around resources. We call it mutual aid. So we've done this for years, where some offices that might be understaffed, other offices will support them. But it definitely poses a challenge for sure. But with that challenge, you still have very, very dedicated people back at the office, and we're going to continue to do as much as we can locally. So it's been a challenge for sure.
Oh, I understand that.
It's going to be a big challenge. And some of those things I'm not as an expert in, like I am at the local level. Like we're still doing the weather balloons at our office because we're still have adequate staffing. So it's been a challenge. We've had challenges in the past. We'll get through it. Especially, as much as people tease us about getting it wrong, and I was kind of joking about that part, we work 24/7, 365 days a year. So if you have a group that works Christmas and Thanksgiving and the overnight shift for 30 years, you're going to find some pretty dedicated people. So it's challenging, but we'll get through it. Yes.
It was on slide that said water is what kills. On the bottom right, it said 15 deaths in Florence, 11 flooding, all in vehicles.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad you didn't catch an error. So yes, 15 deaths in Florence, 11 were flooding. 11 were in the vehicles, all in vehicles. So those are deaths, I wanted to reiterate, that are preventable, just like having a smoke detector in your home. The water didn't come up like a tsunami. It didn't catch people off guard. Some were going around barricades, maybe driving at night, being unaware. So those are preventable deaths. If you stay where you should be, I decided to stay inside. I decided to evacuate, stay away. You'll be perfectly fine. Those are not like you're not on the Neuse River and all of a sudden the tidal wave comes up and gets you. It will come up quick. It did come up quick in New Bern, but it's preventable deaths, and the emphasis is a lot of the deaths we get in flooding are in vehicles. So it's people preventable deaths. Good questions. Yes.
What area was, were those 15 deaths? Did they come just in?
I think the Carolinas or North Carolina is what I picked. So not like just our forecast area, but North Carolina. And I should repeat, we had questions on impact to our office, questions on vehicles, had a lot of deaths in vehicles in Florence, water specific, and then a lady asked about where it was. It was in North Carolina. All right. So and something else? Okay. We'll turn it over to Miss Diane and take it
We'll
away.
have more opportunities to ask questions of all speakers.
Yeah, we won't be going.
Holding him hostage. So in addition to the paperwork that Eric has for you, the town has packages. And so it has, there's a sheet, you know what, I'm just gonna overlook. There's a sheet in there that has all of our contact information. There's a sheet, there's all of our phone numbers. And that's not an office phone number, that's the cell number for me, the guy that runs the water plant, the people that do all the administrative work, they're all on there. Our police officers. It also has, you'll notice, information for all the churches in town. We do emergency management through our churches because that's who organizes when we get stuck. We talked about trusted sources, and nobody trusts the government. I get it. I don't take that personally. But you will trust your pastor. And so we ask them all, and they sit on a emergency management group with us. They each send a representative, all the churches in town. And we ask them to track who's staying, who's leaving, who needs help, all of those things. And then before all the power goes out, give us those sheets of paper so we know whose house we need to go through that door and whose house we don't need to go through that door. Because like Eric said, you're either going to go or you're going to stay. And if you stay and we have told you to go, I cannot make you go, but you can give me your next of kin's information so that when we bust through that door and find you on the floor, we have somebody to contact. So one of those things that we do that's different than everybody else is in your package here, there's a little sheet of paper. Sometimes you live in a low-lying area, but you can put your car someplace where it's not. And one of those places, we park the bridge full because the bridge doesn't go underwater. The Methodist parking lot is a high spot. I want to say, what's on Reagan Road? No, it's either a church or it's the, is it the church? There's a church over there. Don't park in their handicap spot. Right, you can park in a lot of different places. But we ask that if you park someplace else, that you put a card in there that has contact information in case it kind of floats off or something happens to it. We'll at least be able to find you and let you know that, hey, we've corralled your car. And things move in a pretty general manner around. It also includes, if you have pets, how to provide for them. It has lists of the things that you should be collecting for your kits that Eric was talking about. So lots of good information in here. It's downloaded off of FEMA's website and the National Weather Service. We talked about trusted sources. We use the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center, and that's it. Because even your local weather has a vested interest in keeping your eyeballs on their channel. So, well, it might do this and it might do that, and that keeps you stuck to that television. So not necessary. National Weather Service, National Hurricane Center. And that's really all you need. And the National Weather Service uses, us old folks use Facebook still. We use Facebook with the town, and there's a Facebook page that goes with the National Weather Service in Newport. They post the local briefings when things change. Okay, something's different. It's coming a little sooner than we thought, or it's going a little east, or it jogged a little to the west, something like that. All that information is updated regularly. So the trusted source is really important, not to put your faith in somebody who's just trying to keep you in front of their screen. So you asked about how many people have been here. How many people have never been through a hurricane in eastern North Carolina? Not one. And those are the folks that we really wanted to be here. Excuse me, we had a young lady come in last year, a brand new resident. I think she had been here 2 weeks. Remember, Bruce? Terrified. She was, when Eric got done, she was terrified. So I tried to talk her off the ledge, and I think by the time we got all finished, she was okay. It's piece cake. We're very organized, we're used to it, and we don't panic. But a lot of the things that Eric said are exactly what we tell you. Water is the biggest word. It's not categories, only the wind. Has nothing to do with what's going to kill you. So, you really have to pay attention to all the things they're saying, not just the categories. For us older folks, the things that you need to be paying attention to for your kid. Maybe an extra set of eyeglasses with the right prescription in. Make sure that you have your medications full, because everybody's going to be slamming the pharmacy trying to get it full. And you need two plans. You need a plan if you're gonna stay, and you need a plan if you're gonna go. You need to pull that trigger with enough time to get where you wanna go. If you wait, you're stuck. And those deaths that Eric was talking about, a lot of those were sightseers. People who went out, you know, you get in the eye, all the wind goes away. People are, I want to go see what's going on. And they go out and then 120 mile an hour wind hits them from the opposite direction. That's the worst time to be out. So once you decide you're going to stay in, stay in. And the other thing he was talking about was how much rain comes with it and what was happening before the storm got here. So if we had, like a couple of weeks back, we probably had 8-9 inches of rain in a week and a half. You have a bunch of that, and then you get 120 mile an hour wind, even if it's just in gusts. Every sick, lame, and lazy limb is coming down. They're all coming down. There's nothing for the roots to hold on to. It's taking whole trees down. So while you're doing all the prep, getting your kit together, it's a good time to go through the yard and say, that's a dead limb. That probably needs to come out before it spears my roof. And it's happened. I had it happen to me when I lived in New Bern during Irene. Couldn't figure out where this water that was dripping down, ran down the wall, where is it coming from? Go outside and there's a branch like just speared right through the middle of the roof. So a lot of things like that. The whole enlisted to 3, I'm staying, don't say that. Because it doesn't depend on the category. It depends on the total impact. So if you're on a lot that's surrounded by mature trees and it's been raining like Noah's building the ark and now they're expecting 100 mile an hour winds, probably a good time for you to go someplace else. Because a lot of our mature trees, they'll go straight to the foundation when they come down. They're going through the roof, they're going through the walls, they're going all the way down to the foundation. So be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your property. You can already tell when it rains. If it rains a 1/4 inch, I know the ditch is going to be wet for a couple hours, then it's going to be dry. If it rains 8 inches, I'm going to see water in the ditch until the next morning, but then it goes away. Remember, we're at 18 inches above sea level, most of us. So it'll run through the ditch. The ditch is not there to take all the water away. The ditch is there to settle the solids out of the rainwater before it gets to the state waters. Purify the water before it gets to the state waters. And at 18 inches, I can only get so much grade on your drainage. And we work on it all the time. So be patient. It'll go. It just takes a little while for it to go. Remember that text is the last thing. Text is the last thing that works. So in addition to these packages, we had a new service come in last year, and it's called Text My Gov. And so we have 2 things set up. One is Oriental Alerts, and one is Oriental Weather. And so you take your cell phone and you text to the number 91896, which isn't really a phone number. I don't know how all that works. But to that number, you either text Oriental Weather or Oriental Alerts. And if you text to both of them, every time we send something out, you're getting 2 of them. And we're getting charged to send 2 of them. So if you just want stuff for weather, do it to Oriental Weather. If you want everything, water's out, or we have a planned water outage, or, we're expecting that we're going to have power out for whatever reason. If you want all the things, which we don't do, you're not going to get overwhelmed with text messages. Just put in Oriental Alerts. So text to that. It will ask you for 91896. 9896.
Is that not accurate?
It is not, but it's on a separate piece of paper.
Is that just for city?
It's just for Oriental. Well, that's not true. The town, it's a service that the town provides. Anybody can text that number. So,
5 miles outside of town.
no, it's not gonna be a problem at all. I would prefer that those that live in the mountains not join in just to keep up on it, because we pay by the text that we send out. 91896. It's gonna ask you to confirm. Are you sure you want to be part of this? And then you have to answer yes and move on.
So I'm just to be clear, should I text right now?
Sure,
Okay.
everyone should do it.
And then
Commissioner Brina is our technical specialist, so.
Oriental weather and
Oriental alert. Oriental alert is your best bet.
But that's mainly things that are happening in Oriental.
Yes.
So if I lived outside of Oriental, I probably wouldn't, but just how far outside.
Yeah, it depends how far outside.
if you forget it, if you go to the town website, there's a little bubble that comes up.
There is, yes. There's a little bubble. On mine, it's on the bottom right corner. It says text to that number and we'll add you to that list. Is there anything that I usually do that I forgot?
You talked about the packets.
Yeah, anybody can come up and take these. You're welcome to them, and if we run out, the girls, they just keep making more of them. Yes, ma'am?
If we live 10 miles out of Oriental,
Mhm.
you still want us to let you know if we're staying or going?
I want you to let somebody know.
Okay.
Let somebody know. We work through the churches here, so if you're part of one of the churches here, we'll get that information anyway. And then, so it works that way because after it's all over, in a Florence type event, when aid comes in, it comes in mostly to churches and to here. And so we try to organize so that our volunteers don't get worn out. So that this church is gonna be distributing stuff on Mondays and Tuesdays, and this one on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and, so that they can, because we're all trying to rebuild our own property as well.
So if you're not affiliated with the church, go first.
Absolutely here. We had at Florence, I had a fishbowl full of people's house keys. Amazingly trusting population. I had house keys, I had car keys, I had all those things. And no emergency management group is gonna ever tell you that, bring me your keys. But if you feel better giving me your keys, we will keep them here in town hall and lock them up and do the best we can. One of the pages in here has a thing that you put, this is a vehicle form, but the other one is I've left. And this is where you can find me. No, I'm not gonna find it. There's a sheet that we ask you to put on the inside of your front door or on a window if it doesn't bother you to do that. So that when if your house is compromised and emergency services gets there, they are not going into a compromised structure to look for you. But it tells them that you have left.
Some of the fire houses in the county do that also.
Mhm.
So you may want, if you're
Yeah,
not
we started.
here, but what I'm saying, if you don't live here, check with your local fire station
Mhm.
and report in, because they come door to door looking also.
They will go door to
So
door.
don't feel as though you'll get excluded or overlooked if you don't live here.
But we asked to try to make the emergency services is limited. I know what it was. The first 72 is on you. That's the one thing that we always tell people. The first 72 hours following a storm, my crew here is making sure the water is still connected, trying to find anything that's broken, keeping the roads clear. We call it cut and shove. We cut down whatever limbs and just push them off to the side. If you end up with a pile of trees or limbs at the front of your house, don't be upset, we'll get it eventually, but we have to be able to get emergency vehicles through. So the first thing we do is cut and shut. We check on electricity, we check on down power lines, we check on mostly water. For example, if you have a dock meter, we ask that you turn that off, especially if you're evacuating. Turn off the dock meter, turn off the gas to the house, turn off electric at the breaker. That keeps everybody safer. And that's the whole thing, to be able to get emergency services folks through looking, making sure everybody's safe without them getting compromised as well. Any questions? Sir,
Just.
he knows the answer, I know he does.
For everyone who's not been through all that during Matthew, we didn't get much here during Matthew, but South Carolina and Inland did. And I was working in Raleigh. It took me 9 hours to get to Raleigh, and I tried 27 routes. Because there's a lot of lowlands between here and whether it's News River and Kinston, Tar River, trying to get through Washington, and that shuts.
Yeah, in Floyd, we were shut off at Kinston.
It shuts down 70, 264, 64, I think I ended up.
We become an island.
So if you're gonna decide to go, you can't wait till it looks really bad and then say, it's time for me to go, but you probably can't.
Yeah, that picture that Eric showed you about the eye being down here and the outer bands being already across us, that you need to go before, when those are first starting. Sir?
We had a wide street, about 280 behind the property in the woods, and what, 2 or 3 days after Matthew, thing was a mile wide. It's a mile wide. Was
And that's another thing, Eric,
we had people shut.
right, we had sheds in the road too. Another thing Eric was saying about, we're shallow. I mean, you can walk through Raccoon Creek, you can walk through a good portion of the Neuse River till you get to where we race out there in the middle. But because it's shallow, it allows the water to pile up a little faster. We have some photos from Town Dock, they allow us to use their photos of the harbor, and so the railing disappeared, the railing between the harbor and the street, railing disappeared. I was waiting to have shrimp boats in the duck pond. The dragon escaped and floated over to Styron's. The bean had water up and into the bean. So we have 9.5 feet of water in Florence. So look at that, to the ceiling out in that street. Ma'am,
So are we gonna get the evacuation notice from you?
we will relay it. Evacuation notice will come from the official emergency management entity is at Pamlico County.
So is that what you guys recommend? Because you're saying just, don't think about category, don't say like category 3, I leave. So do you just suggest that we leave if you give us an evacuation notice?
If the county says you're under a mandatory evacuation notice, you should heed that immediately. If they say you might want to evacuate, totally up to you. Even if they say mandatory, it's still totally up to you. I can't make you leave.
Yes, but the consequences are they can't get to you.
That's right.
You are grounding, they can't get to you. And that is.
Just pull a couple of people out of attics. Sir.
Since forever. What side of the hurricane is strongest? I think about
Yeah, so the question from the audience, I'm going to repeat a couple ones too after I answer yours, just to make sure the online audience gets it. The question was, what side of the storm is the strongest? It's the right side of the storm. A hurricane spins counterclockwise, so when you're on the right side of the storm, it's the motion of the storm that's added to it. So you don't want to be on the right side of the storm. So for us, we don't want Morehead City, Beaufort, Cape Carteret, Jacksonville, Wilmington to get hit. We don't want anybody to get hit, but especially down our way, a lot of times ones that have skirted us, people thought they were through a storm, but we were on the left side of the storm. It wasn't as bad. Gentleman in the back had asked about or had spoke about how if you're going to leave, because between here and Raleigh, there's a lot of low-lying areas and there's many roads that will be inaccessible. leaving or coming back. So it can be a lot as well. And the lady in the back asked about evacuation orders. Those will come from the county. They will be broadcast on local news. You will certainly know about it. If it's mandatory, you should leave. If it's voluntary or they don't say, it's always up to you. It's always up to you, but it's back to that vulnerability. If you're at 10 feet, which would be hard here unless you're west of 306, but if you're a higher elevation, you don't have a lot of responsibility in the house, then maybe not, it's up to you. But if you're in a low-lying area that floods with every storm, or you've got young people in the house and you just don't want to be here without AC, that's another thing. Sometimes you might not just want to be here without power for 7 days. It's as simple as that. I'd rather be, up, I was going to mention amusement park, but, I'd rather be somewhere else. So it's really your threshold, other than if it's mandatory, that means business, because they don't want to do that unless they have to. So if they say mandatory, that's very serious.
And the shelters, like Eric said, it's not a comfortable place to be staying for an extended period of time. So, I'll tell you one story. After Florence, we had a lot of people left. And I had a gentleman call me from Virginia who had his father, who was one of our residents, in his early 90s. And he said, my father is driving me crazy, wants to come back. And I said, he doesn't need to come back. We don't have any power. We don't have power. We were the only water system east of I-95 that did not lose pressure. The only one. And so we had water, but we didn't have power. We didn't have power for 2 weeks. And he said, can we talk to him? We tell him that you don't want him to come back? I said, I can't exactly tell him that, but I'll be happy to speak to him. And so he puts his father on the phone, and I said, it's really miserably hot here, lots of bugs, no power, no air conditioning, none of the restaurants are open, and you don't have, I said, tell me give me your address. I have police right here in this building, and I'll send them to your house. And he sat on the phone with me while I sent police to his house and came back, and they said, the structure is intact, there's no trees on it, you're fine. I told him that. He said, okay, I'll stay where I am. So 1 down, 727 to go. And like Eric said, you have to assess your own vulnerability. So if I have to worry about 727 of you, the 728th that I live with is on a little hill with really good drainage. Him and the puppies are fine, whole house generator, all the things. I don't want to worry about him while I'm worrying about y'all. So it's a matter of tell us what we can do to help. Public Works will, we know it's coming. We have that heads up. Public Works, if you have a bunch of patio furniture out there, keep in mind, I only have half the Public Works guys that I used to, but they will go to your home and help you get that stuff into the garage as best they can and fit it into their schedule, because they're out there taking down the flags and tying things down and making sure that the town's infrastructure is going to be safe. So there's a lot of things, all those cool chairs out in Lumac Park, they'll have to either go away or be tied to the trees or whatever. So they have a pretty good list, but if you need help, the earlier you tell us that you need help, the better we can make that happen. And sometimes we partner with other agencies that are available to help you get done what you need to get done. Any other questions? Feel free to take all that.
Just got before the storm, do you take, is there volunteer help, do you take volunteers like to help people that might not be able to get ready for it? Or they organize something like that? They
usually organize that through the churches, but we have had people come here and say, hey, I'm available if anybody needs, and it's that kind of stuff. Helping older folks move wrought iron tables into the garage and pick up all the things that we have all over the yard. Yes, ma'am.
I think it's worth mentioning that we are working with the diminished staff for Public Works. I don't think we've ever gone through a story you guys have gone through.
I'm sending Cindy out this time.
Yeah, so if you do want to volunteer, it's a great time to support our Public Works employees that we do still have. Make sure you go out and say thanks to them and make sure you know that they're loved and just kind of, keep that in mind when you're going to the phone.
And police do that kind of stuff too. Our police officers are extremely dedicated, as are our public works employees. So they are more than happy to help you make sure that you are safe and that your property is safe. That they don't want to get hit by those spears that are flying either. So anything that we can do to help you get ready, let us know. Feel free to take any of this stuff. And if you have questions, I'm always available. You can email me. It's manager@townoforiental.com, or you can call the office here, or you can just stop in. Unless I'm in a meeting, I'm available to whoever drops in. Right?
Any more questions? Well, I want to thank Diane for hosting us, and I want to thank Eric and the team for presenting the weather information to us. It's extremely valuable, even though I heard it time and time again, because we go to a monthly meeting in Moorhead, the Crystal Coast Disaster Coalition meeting, which involves, 4 or 5 counties, the Weather Service, Marine Corps Air Base, all the counties, the cities, fire departments. I mean, there's quite a bunch of us at this meeting every month. And he always previews his presentations in front of us to make sure he works out all the bugs and that there aren't any mistakes in the PowerPoint. And there were, so it worked. So I want to ask the group, what do you think is the most important thing that you can think of to have during any disaster?
Communications.
You win the golden prize. I'm impressed. Communication. If you think about it, if we don't, that's what we're doing right now, folks. We are communicating what the Weather Service can provide to us, what the town of Oriental can provide to us. And now I'm going to tell you what the Pamlico Amateur Radio Society can provide you. Communications. Where's our primary cell tower for this immediate area? Anybody know that? No, that's right. And on that tower, there are 4 cell services, and there's an amateur radio service, which is us. We have several repeaters out there. And a repeater is basically an amplifier for radio. What we, as our group, and there's several of us here today from ours, that we talked about in our meetings, we meet once a month. What can we do to help the citizens of Oriental and the surrounding area, the immediate surrounding area during the time of disasters, specifically a hurricane? Because that tower out there, I think the tower itself is going to stand. It's 370 feet. It used to be a third higher, but because the cell services came in, they had to cut it down to put all the cell tower transmitters on because of the weight. So I don't think the tower is going to fall.
We fill them. We fill all the towers right before the storm.
Right, well,
Make sure the water's.
yeah, and we also, they all have generators out there. So every cell service has their own generator. The tower itself and the lights that are on it have a generator. So, push comes to shove, we're in pretty good shape. But you can't get complicit, because when you start thinking that way, then something happens. If we were, and we've done it before, we've lost cell service, we've lost internet service, and we've lost internet service, I mean, not nationwide, but quite a bit of the country at one time. Any other means of communications you can think of could go out, okay? We can send, amateur radio operators with the proper equipment, can send emails via radio waves. So, for example, if Diane needs, they lose everything. and they need to get an email message up to Raleigh, because Bayborough's out also. The courthouse in the emergency management. Contact us, and we can actually send an email via the radio up to Raleigh, to the EOC up there. A lot of people don't realize that, but we're doing right now, our group, we're just starting to, you're our first guinea pigs. There's a service called, it's licensed through the FCC, and it's called GMRS, the General Mobile Radio Service. You take one and pass it around. GMRS. Now, the only thing you have to do is obtain a license. The license is good for 10 years, and it costs you $35.
No test.
And no test. That's the best part. There's no test. And it's good for your entire family. Okay? You get an FCC license, you get a call sign, which is a mouthful. But the thing is, you get one of these radios, you can buy 2 of these radios for around $65 through Amazon. Okay? It's good. It's 5 watts, and it averages about 5-mile distance. Now, when we say that, just like Eric talks about the weather, always variables. Trees, are you standing behind a metal building? Are there noises that you're not familiar with? So there's all kinds of things that occur. But what we are doing as a radio club, we are installing ham radio equipment out at Station 19, Fire Station 19 in Oriental. During a major event, we are going to do our best, because again, we're residents, we're not paid. I don't have to come to town hall for anything. We're going to do our best to staff that fire station and our radio equipment. And if we need to send an email for Diane to Raleigh, she knows where we're at. Okay? She can get a hold of us. But if you or your neighbors don't have communications anymore, and you have a GMRS radio and a license, you can call us. And we can do whatever it is, hopefully, that you need to get done. And it's usually to let my relatives know I'm okay. Okay? And we can get that information outside the immediate area and get back to you. But at least you would have a communications method to contact someone, and that would be us. Yes?
Are you doing it anywhere else in the county?
No. This is the only place right now.
It's a pretty big reach though, using that repeater.
Yes, it is.
Those little radios from
It's amazing.
wire.
It's
How far does it go? You know?
with the repeater. I was talking to Jim Hartmeyer, who is, where's my radio go? Jim Hartmeyer, who's sitting in the second row back here, he had a portable just like this in his car, and he was up at the Bayboro Post Office, and I was sitting in my house down here on Kershaw Road, just past the Smith Creek Bridge, so less than a mile from 55, and we were talking, and this was my radio, back and forth. So what is the distance between Oriental or 55 and Kershaw and the Bayboro Post Office? 10 miles?
It's supposed to be the repeater tower.
We're going through the repeater. Now, you can do it 2 ways. You can either do it through a repeater, which we have set up at the Kershaw Tower, or you can go simplex, which is just directly radio to radio. But that distance is cut down considerably, okay? It'd be good in your neighborhood, but that's probably about it. So all we're saying is, if you want to spend a few extra bucks, probably the cost of 1 month's cell phone service, to get maybe 2 radios as a backup for you and your family. You may never use it, but you may use it the first week you have it too. You know, it's just an option that we're going to provide to the citizens to add to that.
One thing that you all need to keep in mind, and I'll tell you my Rolodex story. Before the power goes out, that's the time to get into your computer and print off all those things because you're not going to have access to those. The internet's going to go first. The last thing that's going to go is your text capability. And we do have a cell phone at Town Hall. The admin number is published on our website. You can always text us on that phone. It's always with somebody. But if there's anything on paper that you want, the time to get that is before, you know, the winds start howling and all that. So we had nothing for 2 weeks, but I still had my old Rolodex and had everybody's phone number. There are dead people in my Rolodex. We had all the numbers and only a couple things that we really needed. And the only place it was written down on paper or written down in my calendar book. You'd be surprised how quickly you go back to the original paper and pencil.
Right. Now, the group that's doing this is a subset of the Pamlico Amateur Radio Society. And it's the Pamlico Communications team. And some of them are here today. 2 of us, myself and Laura Hutchins right there in the second row, we are part of North Carolina Emergency Management and the Communications Unit. We volunteer for the Eastern Healthcare Preparedness Coalition. And if you've ever heard of them, or maybe you've seen them and didn't know who they were, when there are disasters like the last, I think it wasn't Florence, it was the one before Florence, and out of the Outer Banks, they lost their clinic. They set up the mass hospital. And they have a full hospital. They have doctors, nurses that are all volunteers, and we are part of that team, and we provide the communications part of it. So we know from whence we talk what the possibilities are and what can be done during emergencies, okay? So it's just, to me, it's just one little thing you can throw in the back of your kit along with your water and your canned goods and your first aid kit and your medicines is a portable radio to use around here. Now, you can use it nationwide. It's not just for Oriental, but just another thing. I'm going to give this a shot and see if the person that's supposed to be listening is listening. And we'll see what happens. WSFZ 730. Bill, are you there? Okay, just checking. I copied you okay. Thanks, you can go back to the net. WSP 730 cleared. He is just past the fire station. That's affirmative, go ahead. Okay, what's your location? Okay. Yeah, you're loud and clear. Is this you, Ralph? Right, very good. Thanks for coming back to me. WSFZ 730 clear. Okay, that answers your question as far as the distance goes. All we want you to do Because we just want you to hit the Kershaw Tower. That's all we want. You hit the tower, and we'll take it from there. So, we're not gonna, we aren't selling any particular radios, okay? The information that you've been provided, you can get online, you can get on Amazon, you can get Walmart's page, eBay, and look around. If you have any questions, Bruce is busy. That guy that was talking is over in Harlow. You know where Harlow is, across the river. So he's doing pretty good. Yes, ma'am.
Is that battery operated? Or is it-
This is a rechargeable battery. It takes the USB-C plug-in right here. You don't need, other than just the regular cord that you'd have for your cell phone, that's what you use.
So how long is it good for?
For this, if it's just sitting here receiving, days. If you're transmitting a lot, it just depends.
Aren't they available with regular batteries? You can replace box batteries, seat belt, these?
No, not these.
Not that model, but.
No, I've never seen one. I've never seen. Do you know of any GMRS radios with regular batteries? No.
No, but what I would do would keep a little lithium ion battery like you use to charge your cell phone.
Right.
And all I have to do is plug it in.
Works right. So.
There's one point, restrictions use and it's called an emergency. But this is for, social use, using it like you got for your.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This is a means of, you send your kid down to the town beach, you want to keep up with them, yeah.
Right.
I know. He'll go on the sand.
Good point, Tim. It's not just for emergencies. You can use it for anything. Family picnics, if you go fishing, give a radio to your wife if you want to talk to her. Whatever it may be. But obviously, we're talking about emergency communications because that's what kind of our field is. And to us, and then we would get the word out. Our closest state emergency center is in Kinston. Okay, there are 3 across the state. There's one in Raleigh, there's one in Kinston, and there's one in western part of the state, but I think they just moved to that other school that Laura was at. They're in Helene. So there's 3, the state's divided into thirds when it comes to emergency management. Okay, we would report to Kinston. Pardon me? In the western part? I don't know where it is now. I mean, I want to say Conway, but I'm not familiar with western part of the state. Maybe that's it. Anyway, if you have any questions, my name and phone number is on that sheet of paper. Don't hesitate to give me a buzz. It's my cell phone. I have a tendency, if I don't recognize the number, I let it go to voicemail, like everybody else does. So, but I will call you right back once I listen to the message, okay? Any questions from either myself or from Diane or from Eric? If not, I want to thank you all very much for coming tonight. Hopefully the information that you gathered, especially from Eric, you can just store back in your gray matter here, and some of it you won't never have to use. But if you do, you know what to do.
And we'll put this up, I hope to post it tomorrow, and I'll share it with Diane. So it'll be on YouTube. You can go through it. Get your popcorn out and watch it again.
And don't forget to take the brochure.